social media. It's so behind here. It'll take me forever. You don't hear it? Do you hear the fan blowing on my mic?
Yeah, I do.
You do. Okay. Well, I'm warm trying to.
How's your leg?
Oh, it's that part's healed. It's just
Good.
around the other stuff still.
Yeah.
That sound okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just heard it on the YouTube feed. The fan.
Oh, man.
I'll wait for Kelly. Maybe I'll just do a few social medias. Yep, there she is. Sorry. Not gonna worry about it. Hello, Kelly. Oh,
Nice.
different angle. Different angle. Brian found us.
All right, let's see if I can make this work. I know everything is like incorrect. I'm working on it.
All right. It's just going to be the three of us.
Come on. Why is it not seeing what it should be seeing? Let's see here.
Try this.
Getting there.
Can you hear the fan there now, Marty?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I tried.
Oh, no. My seat is shrinking.
Your seat?
The hydraulics on this chair. Just,
Oh no.
I don't know what it is, but occasionally I start to sink.
Oh yeah. Well, that's age on the hydraulics, I think.
Yeah, but it's not broken enough all the time for me to have to go get a new chair. It just happens at
Better
that
than
one
sitting up.
place.
Better than sitting on a ball and then popping.
Oh yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah. Ask me how I know.
Well, I've witnessed it firsthand, and Leo Laporte did it years ago.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I read something that, and I was unaware of it, that he is closing down his studio.
Yep.
He's
Yesterday
going to
was
be
last
doing
day.
everything from home, I guess.
Yeah, that happens when you pay $5,000 a month for electricity and $9,000 a month for rent.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, then that's unsurprising, I suppose. Okay. Let's see. Now if I try.
You sound good. Different angle.
Let's
Are you sitting at Mr. Kelly's desk?
no, I'm sitting upstairs with my fun collection of tiki mugs and what have you. I would really like to sit at this angle, but that's not going to happen. So
That would look kind of weird.
yeah. Well, but I mean, because I have the cool big figs and the limited tiki mugs and all that stuff over there. So
Gotcha.
that's a far more exciting background than what this is. But I am definitely going to get rid of that drying rack before we do this because I have standards. So 1 second.
Okay.
See, just one because it folds flat. So
Perfect.
nothing like a bright white background to emphasize exactly how fuzzy I am today. Again, standards.
How you doing?
Not bad. How about you?
Okay, I just got back from driving around the Midwest on vacation.
Oh.
So
Nice.
it's supposed to be a back to work day. It was back to recovery day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I put the link to the show notes in the chat, Kel, if you didn't see him.
Yeah. I was trying to get there and because I had to move everything upstairs. So
Ah,
I was like,
permanent?
oh. No, just for today. But I was like, wait, I have a podcast and it's what time? And yeah, that's okay. I guess
that's
I have to
all right.
go. So
I spent the last hour, as I told Marty, talking to Comcast, trying to lower our lake bill. And
I hate
Got it.
having to do that dance.
oh, they reduced it $90 and gave me an iPad with 5G, unlimited data.
Dang. Well,
Yeah, there's a catch somewhere. They're, 24 little payments that's included in the bill. And of course, I can't cancel, but we've been with them forever. We've been with them forever. I'm not going to change.
well, yeah, especially if you don't
4K
anticipate it
boxes,
changing. Yeah.
1 gig internet, which of course now I'll have to buy a new modem because the one we have there is like probably 400 if that.
Yeah. They were trying to tell me that we needed a new modem because we're DOCSIS 3.0 instead of 3.1,
Right.
and I'm not 100% sure how much difference in
Yeah.
practical terms that's going to make, but
Unless you're getting gig speed.
which I'm
shouldn't matter.
really not. And
Yeah.
I think they're trying to tell me that I can or something, and I'm like, well, no. So
Yeah, I just switched to gig speed, so I needed a new modem. A new modem, and it just said a series of things I gotta fix or new things I have to buy
yeah.
to make things work. So
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good enough.
Figure out how to type.
Recording notes.
Okay.
Just the three of us. Here we go. Okay, 318. Here we go. In 5.
Underpants. There's no Jeff. Someone had to.
Yeah, he reserves it for Mac voices. He told me that. All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 318 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I've got Kelly Gumont back here on the show. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing well. David, how are you?
Doing great. So glad you're here.
Excellent.
Also have Marty Gentius here. How you doing, Marty? Just fresh back from your trip?
yeah, back from a vacation of driving around the Midwest in search of good Wi-Fi. And I didn't find any.
You sure didn't last
So-
week when you were on the show. So, you went through. You got through it really well. I was impressed.
Well, yeah. Just any other spot at the time that I needed it, it wasn't available. So I'm glad to be home. It's like you get to take your own shower in your own house that you're
Yeah.
used to, and you get to use your own
Mhm.
setup that you've used. It's the same sort of feel. So
Yeah, exactly. Ben's a little under the weather. We'll miss you, Ben. And Jeff, he had other things to do today, but glad he's taking care of what he has to take care of. But we miss you both. But we'll know you'll be back next week. We've got lots of stuff to talk about here. Beta keeps going on. There's updates and all kinds of stuff. Well, let's just jump right into the topics for this week. I'm going to start right off with updates. iOS 17.6.1 was released yesterday as we record this. It was a minor update, but there were some security updates specific to an issue with it's enabling and disabling the advanced data protection.
Yeah.
Some bug fixes and a lot of other specific things. You know, it's always bug fixes is generally what these updates are. .1 generally isn't a big thing, but they obviously release it for a reason when it comes to security. So very important to get that up to date on all your devices. iPad OS has got the change as well as iPhone, and get that taken care of. Did you have anything to add on that, Kelly?
Yeah, just my occasional reminder that the less Apple says about the update, the more important it is to apply. So if they
That's a
say
good review.
security resolution, like go do that right now. If you can't get
Yeah.
any solid information about what it is that's actually changed, you need to drop everything and go update all of your screens forthwith, because the reason they don't say anything about it is so that people don't get hit by some sort of exploit or something. And usually when something comes out on an off day, like software updates don't normally come out on a Wednesday, and if you get one, especially if it's small like this, it's usually we have found this security issue and it is active. It is something people are doing right now that is a problem, or it's something that's big enough, like the advanced data protection, which is the I want to call it like the stalker setting on your phone. It's the one for like I am in danger and having someone else have access to my data could lead to peril for someone. That's what the advanced data protection piece is, and not being able to enable that and disable that effectively is really important. So whenever you get something that feels a little hand wavy as far as what it is you actually need to do in order to get the update, you know, what you get out of the update, go run it immediately. So
Yeah. I'm the idiot. I'm the idiot that's running all the betas. But I'll tell you what happens is, like Macworld, just I opened and saw there was an article in it this afternoon that said, drop everything and update your devices. And until I got into the article, I realized it was what we're talking about right now.
Oh, I see it.
And so
Emergency,
then I went,
emergency.
yeah, yes. So then it's sort of like, well, I'm running the betas, but it does remind me to check all my betas to see if there's an update on 18.0. So every time there's a warning about an update on 17, I go and check all my other devices and see if they've rolled something out anyways for the developer beta.
Yeah, but there actually was an update to iOS 18. It's in beta 5. That was just released yesterday as well. It's got Safari's distraction and control, the photo apps update, and there were some more updates along with that as well. A number of different updates, as we all know, going with that. It sounds like, Marty, you just probably just installed it, trying to even figure out what was added to it, right?
No, I mean, I tried to with Vision because Vision OS came out with a developer beta and an update. And, when you go back to the developer notes, I'm reading them and what's going on with the beta updates. I'm reading information that I read 3 updates ago. So, these are things that have happened over the course of OS 2.0 and the betas, but so I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that happened the last beta. Yeah, it doesn't really define clearly what's going on, what's been added in the new beta to try and find it. So I have to pay attention to Reddit and some other threads that people have found stuff with in the new beta updates. This one, at least for Vision OS, looks like it's all patches and fixes, a lot of Swift UI fixing on it, but not any new kind of functional stuff for users yet.
Yeah, that's generally what beta is. It's gonna be stuff that you guys pick apart to figure that out. But anything else notable on Vision Pro that you wanted to add to that?
No, not that I could, not from the betas. And I just loaded them yesterday. So, and tried to play with them last night. So,
yep. So we also have WatchOS that has a beta that came out, and as well as TVOS, and not too much notable there. But they also that's in the developer betas, beta 5, and there's also the public betas. Those are out. The third public beta of iOS 18 and iPad OS 18 is out now. So as well as WatchOS 11 and the tvOS as well. So it's very, very active beta cycle here. I tell you, it's and as well as 18.1. I don't think a new version of that has come out just yet, unless I've missed it. I believe they're still that version, of course, added the AI, and it isn't really much else because of that. Only will work on iPhone 15 Pro and the Pro Max at the present time. So
Right.
you aren't going to get too much activity on that, nor am I going to ever put it on my production device. So my beta device is iPhone 13, so I think we'll stick with just iOS 18. So like I said, it's because of Apple Intelligence that just made it hard. They had to go through and separate it out because these devices aren't going to be compatible to Apple Intelligence.
I was unaware I was getting Apple Intelligence on my phone. It just seemed like Apple was suggesting new things for me as I was composing stuff.
Mhm.
And I'm used to that on other platforms with other like Grammarly and other kinds of AI that I use. So it just kind of threw me for a loss. And it was like, oh, well, maybe this is AI in Apple's developer beta that I'm noticing now. So
Yeah. There's all kinds of things to start exploring and playing with and all that stuff. So the couple notable things that caught my eye with iOS 18 this go around here, arranging the icons around your iPhone wallpaper. I really like the way they've done this. You really can overhaul your homepage and make it really personalized for you. The customizations and personalizations, and then the freedom to arrange the icons and widgets with space between them, opening it up. So all kinds of different layouts. Have you tried that at all, Marty, with yours? Yeah, I
have. I've moved them around and left some spaces open, and I hate to say it's helpful when I'm trying to suggest while I'm driving to my wife, use this app or get into this app on my phone for me. Now that things can be segmented a little bit better, I can tell her what section to find them in and where to get it. With the ability to customize apps so much, at this point, it's a little scary because I have that visual memory of this is what the app looks like, and there's a name underneath it generally. And if I start messing around with it, then I'm all in a completely different learning curve again. And it makes it even harder for me to kind of explain it to someone while I'm driving if I want them to go into this map or check this app for me, whatever, even with CarPlay.
Yeah, absolutely. I would talk about the YouTube channel real quick. We got a number of folks in the chat tonight. That's youtube.com/intouchwithios. And Ben's in the chat. How you doing, Ben? Again, we miss you. At the top of the show, we told everybody you were a little under the weather. I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better to be in chat with us, as well as Cletus and Brian F. is there as well. Thanks for being here and have enjoyed the ride here of all the fun stuff we're talking about right now. The other thing I wanted to hit on with iOS 18 was the hide app names. That is another unique thing on the home screen, which is kind of interesting. I kind of like this because you may not necessarily want to have the labels on them because we've been so used to having that for many years. But I'm used to them. I kind of like them because then some people forget what those icons really are. But you can go in and actually the names of the apps are just removed from the grid, which increases the size of the icons and the widgets on your home screen. With the space saved, you get larger icons, maximum of 6 icons rows with 4 icons each, as well as so you get a lot more rows without the names, of course. We got an article here from Mac Rumors here that shows some of the ways you can go through and edit this, and we'll definitely be covering this more as time progresses when it is released. So that's another great thing. You tried this at all, Marty, at all yours?
No, David. So it gives you an extra row if you take. Is that what I'm hearing right? If you take the names out of it,
Yeah,
might be worth doing it.
Yeah, I might try it
you
on
know,
this. I haven't tried it on my iPhone 13 yet, but yeah, I'm gonna try this out.
yeah.
I think this is something really cool here.
Honestly,
The
the arrange things and put the spaces wherever you want on the home screen is the thing that's making me think I might want to go beta before it ships, because that just seems like such a good idea. And it's been so long in coming, because you could do this on Android forever ago. And it's one of the things that I've always really liked about my Android test devices and stuff is I can put spaces in wherever I want. I can have just the icons at the bottom if I want, because that's all I can hit with my thumb.
Mhm.
And that's pretty great. Now, if they would just fix the other interface thing that I have wanted for like 15 years now, that would be awesome. I'm
that
tired of
would be.
speech balloons around text messages. That's what I want. It takes up so much space to have the little thing. You can just have them be different colors and on different sides of the screen. I don't need the little thing. It all takes up so much space. I don't need it. Let me at least have an option for a compact view. This is the windmill I will tilt at forever. This
Yeah,
and 5
yeah.
gigabytes of iCloud for those of you who like to see me occasionally distract Chuck on Mac voices. Same thing. 5 gigabytes in this day and age is an insult. So yeah.
Kelly's
really is.
playing all the hits tonight. I can tell.
I gotta make it count, right?
Yeah. Another feature that was discovered that they've added is in iOS 18 is adds a camera setting to allow the iPhone audio playback when shooting video. Apple has added a control in the camera's app settings menu, which lets you choose whether audio playing on your iPhone should pause or continue when you start recording in video mode. In previous versions of iOS, you would shooting in video mode in the camera automatically pauses and playing audio, including music and podcasts. This behavior was based on the assumption that you don't want any sound coming out of your iPhone speaker to be picked up on the video recording. But it's no good if you want to play a soundtrack to accompany whatever you're shooting. One way to get around this was to use the quick take method of recording video in photo mode. That was just way back in iOS 13, which allowed any audio playback to continue during shooting. The only issue is quick take recordings is in lower quality than the video mode it was capable of. But that won't matter because this is going to have a nice toggle mode here. This is kind of cool, allowing audio playback, as well as if you wanted to record mono or stereo. Sometimes you want to, depending on what the track is. So this is another cool feature they've added. So we're really getting some high end, a lot of highly cool features in iOS 18 so far.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Just seems like the. Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly.
Oh no, go ahead.
It just seems like they're really setting it up to use it as a video camera, without having to do a lot of the patching or the post-production stuff. You can do it right when you're recording, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's iOS 18. Some of the updates that were happening here. Couple things I wanted to talk about here. This was an interesting story here, and I thought this would be a good topic. That there was a report that Apple is beginning some serious work on a foldable iPhone. There's been some details also about the 16, the 17, and the newer SE. Lots of rumors and speculation have been moving around to produce its first foldable iPhone. And again, this is all rumor, but I thought this would be kind of fun. But this was posted on the tech publication, The Information. They're pretty credible publication there. So sources say that Apple has begun discussing specific component requirements with suppliers, offering several new details about both the foldable device as well as the upcoming iPhone 16, 17, and the revamped iPhone SE. The foldable probably won't even arrive for another 2 years at the very least. Thinking about that much go with their process, because Apple's very meticulous with their manufacturing process. But it's possible they may even ban it, just like they did with the Apple Car, right? First off, let's start with you, Kelly. What do you think Apple's ever going to come out with a foldable device? I don't know. I'm on the fence.
I feel like eventually, and part of the reason for that is when you look at the demographics of the population, people are getting older and therefore squintier, and like I have had more than one conversation with somebody that was basically like, the Pro Max is almost a big enough screen for a phone. when
Mhm.
are they going to make the Pro Max Pro? You know, like I want an even bigger one than that, but it won't, that won't actually even fit in your pants pocket. So they're going to have to make a foldable one for people to be able to, up the system zoom one or two more notches or whatever. Um Honestly, this fits in well with what we've seen from Apple before. They're not the first.
Mhm.
They didn't make the first MP3 player. They didn't make the first cell phone. They didn't make the first watch that was a sidekick to your mobile device. They didn't make the first tablet. They never did, but they always went about it in an interesting way. So, whether we like, I really hope we get to see it in some fashion, whether it's because Air Force One walks out on stage and gives us the grand debut, like Dub 28 or something, or it's later somebody, like the project got killed and then later somebody leaks the here was the prototype of the one that we tried to make, but we could never make it possible to happen or whatever. That kind of stuff is always interesting to me. So I think we're going to see it in some fashion eventually. But I think Apple's going to have to try and nail the hinge on this. I think that's been the problem all along, is making sure that the screen is durable enough that you can fold and unfold approximately a squillion times over the life of one of these devices. And, at that point, it's going to cost as much as a MacBook Air. So,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
why
look at-
there's not why they're not going to just put a cellular radio in a MacBook Air, I'm still not quite sure about, but um I'm unsurprised to hear that it is possible that maybe they are testing it, because I just presume that kind of thing happens at Apple all the time. Somebody says, it would be awesome, and somebody else says, you might be right. So go see what you can do to turn it into reality. And there is somewhere a physical manifestation of a 5G MacBook. There's a physical manifestation of a foldable phone. There's, all these kinds of things. I assume there's iPhones in iMac colors, somewhere in a supply closet there in Cupertino. Like all kinds of ideas that come and go all the time that may not even make it on the rumor radar. So yeah, I would be unsurprised to see it happen.
Yeah. How about you, Marty? What do you think on thoughts of this foldable device?
I'll probably be first in line to get one.
I knew you would be, but
I owned a Pixel Fold about a
Oh,
year
that's
ago,
right.
year and a half ago, and I enjoyed it. And I know, Kelly, you know and understand the Android system really well. The thing that made me give up on the Pixel Fold was the interface, the software, what I could get that I didn't get with my Apple, or that I did get with my Apple phone. So if Apple's able to do it, I'll probably be first in line to get one.
Yep.
Was at a ball game this weekend and saw somebody using their Galaxy Fold sitting in front of me, and I thought, that's interesting. I started to get phone envious again, but did not run
It
out
is
and get a
neat.
Galaxy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and with the Pixel Fold that I had, the screen was not a problem. There was not an issue as you thought of, but I just needed all those Apple apps that I use that I couldn't get on that device. Now, if it turns out to be one of those fold phones like the little Razor phones or whatever they are, no, that's for
No.
me, that's the kids market. I don't know how a kid could afford a phone that expensive if they do it that way. If it's the book fold kind of thing that we see with other devices, yeah, I'm first in line.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of those, and it's a really interesting idea, but they haven't been around long enough for me to look at one that's 2 or 3 years old, because a lot of people, especially if you're going to spend, I'm assuming that's going to be more money than you would pay for a phone now, and if you're up to 12, 13, 1500 dollars for a phone, then you're going to use it for a long time. And I want to see a 5-year-old Samsung flippity doodah, and like, what does that look like in real life when somebody's been putting it in their pocket and unfolding it a squillion times a day, and how does that hold up over time? A 5, 6, 7, 8 year old, one of those, like, show me that, because that's the thing that will determine whether or not, because I will be very interested whether or not and like will kind of want one because it would be great and it might fit in my pocket again, like the old
Mhm.
days. And, but I could still have a reasonably sized screen and that would be awesome. But I'm not sure in practical terms, what that's going to look like. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. No, that's definitely the case here. So it's gonna we'll see where it goes. That's all we can say. Again, I think it's like I said, about 2 years down the road before we're even getting close to if it even being a possibility. But we'll see. The other interesting topic I wanted to talk about is how fast is 5G SA in the U.S. and around the world. Uh, Okala I think I say that right, is out with its latest report with its new data focusing on how fast the 5G SA connections are in the U.S. and other countries. And there's just showed a look here what the median speeds are and how much they've improved over a year. The U.S. and Southeast Asia have been the two areas to embrace the technology early, with T-Mobile being the only major provider in the U.S. to launch support, which I'm proud to be a customer with T-Mobile because their speeds have been pretty amazing. And they said T-Mobile touts speeds up to 3.3 gigabit speeds. Yikes! Wow, that's crazy. You must be standing right on top of a tower there for getting that. But for the U.S., it was up. It was at 363.53 megabits per second, and that's up from 279 last year. So to look at some of the speeds in the different countries here and going over year over year here, it's interesting. Brazil it was at 543 average last year, dropped down to 474. As I said, the United States was at 279 through 364 now this year. Canada is right around the same speed as the U.S., but you can go into other countries like South Korea. What a surprise! On average, 729, and Singapore 517, and so on. Interestingly enough, Japan is very slow. It's only like around 276 comparatively speaking. So it's really great to see that the speeds are improving. I mean, I can give you firsthand experience. I mean, I had to buy a 5G MiFi device for Verizon for somebody at work, and we did some testing on it. And right off the bat, because we've been buying 4G devices for years, and I said, "Well, I got to stop buying these things. It's got to be 5G." So took it out of the store and then connected it with iPhone. It was getting 600 megabit speeds right on average, with
Dang.
that device. So yeah, so these, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, they've all have really come a long way. I mean, that's why this home internet service is becoming more and more popular among.
Impossible.
Yeah, I mean, it is. So it's pretty impressive considering. I mean, I've got fiber, and I've always been talking about here, and I also have I've been dealing with Comcast and Xfinity, and I'll talk about that a little bit. My interesting story just happened just before the show started here, yeah, speeds are pretty impressive. Marty, I'm gonna start with you. What are your thoughts on these speeds, and are you attaining a lot of these speeds in your area?
Well, I've got Spectrum coming in at 1G into my home, hardwired into my system here. But I had the most experience I had with this was last week as I was traveling, hitting a few hotels, hitting a few cottages, and I got a Solis, SOLIS, like MiFi. And on Monday, I ordered the 4G because I'm not sure I want to put money into this.
Yep.
And I tested it out at home and I was getting miserable speeds.
Yep.
So I went ahead and ordered on Amazon the 5G version and sent back the 4G version. So I wound up paying a bit more for this 5G version. And I was getting pretty good speeds with it, depending on if I was in an area that had saturated Wi-Fi or cellular that I could jump on. Northern Wisconsin, not so much. Actually, there was one place I stayed in a hotel where I was sort of near a country highway, and was able to pick up on my Mint mobile cellular 5G
Mm-hmm.
but not on T-Mobile, and definitely not on AT&T. So I wound up running the podcast that we did for Vision Profiles a couple of days ago off my T-Mobile by hotspotting my T-Mobile 5G in order to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
No,
was looking at
it's,
200, gigabytes or megabytes per second,
which is
which
fair.
was surprising. Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely fair. So let's continue to evolve. Good topic here. Another topic I thought was interesting is the fact that Apple used Google Tensor chips to develop Apple Intelligence. Apple used the TPUs, Tensor Processing Units, that's developed by Google instead of NVIDIA's widely used graphics processor units, GPUs, to construct two critical components of Apple Intelligence. The decision was detailed in a new research paper that was published by Apple. They're being open about it in reliance on Google's cloud hardware. And the paper reveals that Apple utilizes 2048 of Google's TPU 5P chips to build AI models, and 8192 TPU of the four processors for server AI models. Research paper does not mention NVIDIA explicitly, but the absence of any reference to NVIDIA's hardware is in the description of Apple's AI infrastructure is telling, and this omission suggests a deliberate choice in favor of Google's technology. So this is very interesting to see. Apple's pretty much been in partnership with Google for many years. I believe Google pays Apple $20 billion to be the default search engine on Apple devices. What do you think, Kelly, on this?
I think it's interesting anytime we actually get quantifiable, legitimate information about Apple, about any two great big companies teaming up. So Apple and Google for a thing, Apple and Amazon for a thing, Apple and Microsoft for a thing, Microsoft and Google. Like whenever any of the great big tech behemoths team up on something, I'm always interested in seeing what it is, what it looks like, how it turns out. So those are always fun things to look at. I thought the thing that was interesting about it mostly was that it was the type of processor it was, because it's not GPUs like people use for lots of things, and the word Intel didn't show up in there anywhere, which I also thought was kind of notable, because like honestly I was sort of like surprised that that Google was cranking out chips that would be on a scale where somebody could do something at this scale, like that they would be powerful enough for any organization to stack a bunch of them together and do something really impressive with them. So I figured that would be an Intel job, a Qualcomm job, an Apple internal job. So finding out that it was Google was kind of interesting to me when I was reading through this. Yeah.
How about you, Marty?
I think Apple had to tell all the M4 chips to leave the room so the tensors wouldn't feel self-conscious, and they had to make a safe space for the tensor chips to do the AI work on it. To me, it's just all processors, and however they slap it together to make it work and develop, it's cool.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely is. That going to be interesting to see where this goes, and how we do how it progresses for sure. Apple TV Plus, we've had a number of new shows and movies to watch on Apple TV Plus. As we've talked about many weeks, that Apple's original TV shows and movies are in the 4K HDR quality, and you can watch them on all kinds of screens, and it's a good quality. Sometimes you can actually go watch free Apple TV shows. Sometimes they do offer little episodes here and there that you can watch them as well. I just finished Presumed Innocence. With Jake Gyllenhaal. Amazing show. If you haven't seen it yet,
I've heard
highly
good
recommend
things.
it.
Yeah.
It's only an eight episode series for this season, so I think they're going to have another season from the way it looked. I know Cowboy Cartel was a new one that was really just released. That's a docu series about how Scott Lawson, as a newbie FBI agent, follows a hunch and discovers a vast money laundering operation. So that could be very interesting. That is a very interesting show, as well as Women in Blue is another one. Time Bandits has been pretty popular. I haven't jumped on watching that yet.
I love Time Bandits. It is so
Okay.
fun. I don't think it's as much fun as some. It's by Taika Waititi, and it takes place in the same universe as the movie for people who remember the film. There's a lot of differences between them, but so far I've really enjoyed it. It's been really entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I got some shows I really got to jump on. It's hard to watch everything. I tell you. I mean, I'm a football fan, and HBO. I'm sorry, Max has Hard Knocks when they're doing the Chicago Bears, which is exciting
wow.
for being
I
a
just saw
Bears
that.
fan.
Yeah.
It's just the first episode dropped this Tuesday, just as we record this, and it was a really great episode to see at what they did. If you're a football fan, and Hard Knocks has been around for many years. They've highlighted lots of different teams each year out, and the Bears were always reluctant to do it, but they decided to do it this year. So rightfully so, since they have their number one draft choice quarterback with Caleb Williams, and really have revamped their team. So those are other shows that are out there that are worth watching. So, and a number of other things on all the other streaming services. But yeah, Apple TV Plus is holding their own. There's a lot of great content. Anything that you've watched lately, Marty, on Apple TV Plus?
I think the next thing I'm going to watch is Sunny. I'm really fascinated by that concept. I'm slowly working my way through the third season of the Orville, and I don't want that to end.
Oh my God.
So that's why
I love Orville.
Like working my way slowly through that season. And then and I'm doing all my watching on my Vision Pro headset. So so I play around with other stuff in there, and then I give myself the gift of an episode of Orville. But yeah, definitely the Vision Pro has helped me engage more in Apple TV, and I will probably look at Sunny next.
Yeah, the Orville, I mean, I blame Jeff Gamet. Jeff, he told me to watch it. I got hooked, and I was like binge watching it for like not even a week, all 3 seasons. So that was
that's a highly devourable. It is entertainment.
You just get fascinated for every episode. It's just
I'm seeing this Yo Gabba Gabba Land, and
Yo Gabba Gabba is so good.
Is it a kid's show?
Do you remember how not long after SpongeBob SquarePants started on Nickelodeon, it was suddenly a huge hit with kids in college who regularly had the munchies?
Yeah, got it.
Yo Gabba Gabba is a similar vibe, but it's also delightful, and the band from the show is like a real band that you can go listen to and stuff, and they're awesome. They're a blast. It's super fun.
Yeah, I wish Apple, I mean, we got Snoopy and we got this, and then there's some other stuff.
Fraggles.
I wish Apple would do some like Adult Swim stuff, cartoons for adults.
Central Park is it's not, I mean, it's not Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But it tends to be more of, I just had this conversation with someone recently. What used to be family entertainment was like the Muppet Show, because there were jokes for the adults. They would say something subtle, or there'd be a quick turn of phrase that the adults would understand. And then there'd be the pie in the face, or someone would slip and fall. And that's also funny to the kids, but it was something everybody could enjoy. As opposed to now, family entertainment is, we made something for kids, and maybe when it's over, parents won't be homicidal maniacs. Maybe. Like, that's kind of the definition now, is it's for kids, but if parents want to be in the room, that's fine. And that's not what family entertainment used to be. So that's some of what I've seen from Apple. And I appreciate that they do have some decent kids programming or some stuff that at least everyone can watch. They still have their fair share of maybe you don't want to watch this with your parents in the room, but which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that kind of programming either. It just makes for awkward conversations later. But that's part of what I've appreciated about all the OG Fraggle Rock stuff is on there, which is legit family entertainment. The new Fraggle stuff is fun. I haven't watched all of it yet. The new Snoopy things are all kind of entertaining. So I'm glad that there's at least variety because, not everybody's up for Slow Horses or For All Mankind. And I appreciate that they're sort of copping to not all entertainment needs to be for everybody. Like we know that we're going to put out stuff that's not going to be for you or for, there's going to be something on there that's like that maybe David's not a fan of. Like, I don't know if either of you have watched Physical. It is super, super dark. It is, dark. I watched 4 seasons of Westworld. I am here to tell you this is a dark show. But it's also amazing and so well done and well crafted. Production value is sky high. It's so interesting. It's surprising all the time. It's really, really, really good. Not bingeable. Again, dark. Also pretty firmly in the maybe don't watch it with your parents category. But it's such a good show and it tells such an engaging story. So I absolutely recommend that. On the opposite end of the scale, I recommend Acapulco, which is another favorite. I just saw that we finally got a date for the 2nd season of Shrinking, which is another show I feel like I need to evangelize to everybody. I don't think Acapulco gets the attention it deserves. And I know a few people who talked about Shrinking, but I know a lot more people who really should be watching it. And it's really, really fun. The creator, the main guy behind Ted Lasso and Roy Kent from Ted Lasso are the 2 main people behind Shrinking.
Okay.
So very funny, same vibe where it's a funny show, but you care about the characters and sometimes sad things will happen and you are sad for them as well. But it's another half-hour comedy program that is just delightful. And the way the first season ended, I could not wait for the 2nd season. And in typical Apple fashion, they don't tell you anything is ready until it's ready. And so there was no news forever about whether or not there was even going to be a 2nd season. So I was very excited to finally get a date because it's been a long time. And it was such a good show. It's I haven't watched through it as many times as I've watched through Ted Lasso, which is my favorite TV program of all TV programs, just to be clear.
Too.
Well, right up there. I'm going to say top 3 because The Muppet Show. So it's top 3, but I like everything about it. I just loved and with Shrinking, it's the same thing. I really just want to, I want a web series where we see what some of the characters are like on their days off and that kind of stuff. I really, really loved it.
Yeah, no, it's great. There's so much to watch on Apple TV Plus, but could this be true? My question is why? Apple's in talks to bring ads to Apple TV Plus. Apple is working on the introduction of advertisements on Apple TV Plus starting in the UK, and it's apparently been in discussions with the UK's Broadcasters Audience Research Board, BARB, I guess they call it, is to explore the necessary data collection techniques for monitoring advertising results. Currently, BARB provides viewing statistics for major UK networks, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Sky, as well as Apple TV Plus programming. There are discussions suggest that Apple is preparing to implement an ad-supported tier on the streaming service, similar to moves made by competitors like Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. They're all doing it. Apple has already included some limited advertising in its live sports events, such as last year's Major League Soccer coverage, where ads were incorporated even to the season pass holders, which is annoying. You're paying a lot of money for that. And competitors like Netflix and Disney Plus have successfully launched their lower cost ad-supported tiers, which help them attract additional subscribers and increase revenue. So I think there you go. There's key words right there: increase revenue. Is Apple going to be attracted to wanting to do that just based on that? And then will they offer ads? I'll start with you, Kelly. What do you think?
I feel like they probably will. Everyone else does, and I don't think that's the thing that Apple wants to use to differentiate. I wish they would.
Yeah.
Particularly because uh part of part of what this involves, what we need to measure if the ads are successful, makes sense. Like, obviously you don't want to put ads, you're not putting ads out into the void, right? You want to make sure that you're getting some sort of return on that investment, because nobody's going to want to put ads on a service if they can't have any idea how
Right.
those ads are performing. So I absolutely feel like they're probably going to do it, but I find that the data collection portion of this, even if it's anonymized, uh, is something that kind of goes against a thing we hear from Apple a whole lot of the time about how it's your data, it's on your device. We can't see it. We don't know what to do with it. Even if we wanted to, there is no mechanism which we can use to get into it. And I want for that to be the case across the board. And I understand making money. I understand Apple has shareholders. I'm not trying to say anything about that. But I think it would be nice if one of the ways that the service was differentiated was like, we don't have ads and there's not a way to get them. And most of the reason for that is because I remember hearing a lot of complaining about the other platforms going to an advertising, including an advertising tier. Um, Mostly because I never saw the resulting improved service from that. Like, I understand. Hi, John Martellero. I understand the plural of anecdote is not data. But that said, I know a lot of people who did not choose to pay more. And as soon as ads rolled in, went, well, now it's too much money for me to watch ad free, so I'm canceling that service. I know a lot more people who said that than, it's an ad here and there, it's fine. So I'm going to keep paying my $10 a month or 12 or whatever it is. So I haven't seen what the reports are on the increase in subscribers. So I presumably am wrong about that. So I'm curious how that actually shakes out.
How about you, Marty?
I have a tendency to ignore ads. I can't tell you the last one that ran on any streaming service that I just watched. So I don't know how ads influence me because I can't remember them to influence me. It would be cool if they said, okay, we know they're going to bump their prices up on a few things. I mean, Apple One subscription is been bumped a little bit. It might be bumped again in the future, but it would be nice if they say if you're on Apple One, you're ad free. And that would be a way to drive people to Apple One.
Mm-hmm.
They'd get the increased storage, they'd get all the other goodies with it, and they would get ad-free service. If you're not on Apple One and you're just doing Apple TV Plus, then we're going to charge you, if you want it ad-free, we're going to charge you a little more each month.
Yeah.
That would be a smart move. I would like to think that's something they would do.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to do some of the news stories caught my eye this week. This is no surprise at all. Disney Plus is eliminating password sharing starting in September. We're in August as we record this in 2024. Disney plans to start seriously cracking down on password sharing on the Disney Plus streaming service in September. This was talked about by Disney CEO Bob Iger during their earnings call. Iger says that Disney would begin eliminating password sharing in earnest next month. Disney has been talking about this, getting rid of password sharing since a year ago. So it continues to go on. So it's going to be inevitable to see if this is happening. And we're not surprised. I'm not at all surprised. Kelly, what do you think? I think most of these services have been pretty much cracking down on password sharing these days.
Everybody wants to. That's the dream, is to make sure that every single set of eyeballs is a separate charge, right? So I'm unsurprised. I remember, I think it was at like WWDC. It was a few years ago, like 6 or 7 years ago, maybe now. When Apple first started offering and saying, like, we're going to make it so you can sign in with your cable provider and get everything that you can get from your cable provider. And I remember thinking, are they just making that easier so that everybody has to tie it to their cable subscription because you can't share a cable subscription?
Right.
And I remember asking Rene Ritchie about it in the talk that he was giving, and he went, "Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm like, yep, that's exactly that's why I thought
Yeah.
that's what it was. Um, so I'm sure that's what it is. I think it's an interesting move from a PR perspective that the two big pieces of news out of Disney this week were we are cracking down on passwords and also our service prices are going up. So
Yep.
I think that's a very interesting 1-2 punch there from Disney. Just in case anybody forgot they were in the business of printing money, here is your reminder, and here's your other reminder. So I thought that was kind of an entertaining
Yeah.
pair of headlines to come out kind of at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah. It's I knew it was inevitable. How about you, Marty? What do you think?
I know this is heresy here, but I don't watch Disney. I do have the bundled subscription because I have a Hulu watcher in my house and
Okay.
I have ESPN Plus, and occasionally I want to sneak into there, but I'm not going to watch a lot of stuff that comes out of the Mouse House. I tried The Mandalorian and got through one season of it, didn't pick it back up.
Oh, I love that. That was
But
a great show.
just haven't just have not gotten back into the other product that's on Disney. Occasionally I'll go in there and scan through their catalog and see what I'm not watching, and go back and use Hulu and ESPN Plus. So, but
Yep.
not so but I also don't have people to share it with. So it's no big deal. It's all under our household. I don't have relatives in Nebraska
Yeah.
that want to camp onto my
Yeah.
Disney account. So
Yep. And keeping along at the trend here of talking about TV and streaming and all that stuff, Google TV Streamer was announced as the Chromecast replacement to rival Apple TV 4K. Google announced the TV streamer to actually yesterday as we record this as a new device that replaced the Chromecast and will directly rival the Apple TV 4K. It marks an end of an era actually with the Chromecast, which it actually it was one of the original streaming dongles that was showed so cheap, and it was a staple in the market since its launch in 2013. Oh my God, that was so long ago. That's
No.
11 years. Over 100 million Chromecast devices were sold during that run, and it's positioned to high-end replacement for the Chromecast, promising to have delivered a next-generation AI-powered streaming experience. While also functioning as a central hub for smart home devices. There you go, right there. It
That's
will
how
provide
it's
over
competing.
over 700,000 movies, shows through popular streaming apps, of course, and YouTube TV, and all the other things that it normally is going to have. It's going to come in two different colors: porcelain and hazel. The latter being exclusive to the U.S. Google Store, and it's intended to sit in front of the TV rather than behind it to improve connectivity with the smart home devices. It's got a redesigned voice remote, so features improves ergonomics and with a textured backs for better grip and optimized button layout with the remote. That remote, so they're really good going on to this. They're looking at the pricing here. That's going to be at around $99, which actually think about it, it's pretty good price compared to what the Apple TV is at around $129 base price. You can pre-order it. It's going to be available in September. Either you're going to even think about looking at this?
I'll buy it, try it, put it in the closet.
That's what I usually do.
I'm fascinated by it. The Chromecast, when they first came out and they were really cheap. I was working with international students who were coming here for like 15 weeks and going to and staying in a hotel and not having at the hotel we had them not many options for media. So we bought them all Chromecast devices to plug in, and they enjoyed them, and that was fun and dandy. I'll get this just because I'm curious about it. I think the porcelain and hazel colors, it sounds like kitchen colors to me. It
Yeah,
doesn't sound
exactly.
like living room colors, and I won't be watching much in my kitchen.
Interesting. Another article here I included. This was from Apple Insider. Looking at the spec comparisons here. Again, the pricing was, as we said, about $20 $30 difference. Dimensions are no biggie. The weight, I think, of course, the TV streamer is smaller and lighter. But interestingly enough, the capacity. The Apple TV 4K comes in a 64 gig Wi-Fi only model or the 128 gig with Ethernet.
Mhm.
TV streamer only has 32 gigs of storage. I mean, now maybe they decided on that only because they think people are going to be doing a lot of storage in a way that I've had
Well, the
experiences.
Chromecast didn't. I mean,
Yeah,
the Chromecast never had
yeah,
no storage at all. And it didn't even have an like much of an
yeah,
operating system. Like it was literally a conduit for you to put something from another screen on your TV. It couldn't do anything on its own.
yeah. So, but Apple even expands upon video formats. You know, got the Google TV streamer has SDR video, Dolby Vision, HDR10, and 10 HLG, where Apple goes even beyond that with H.264, MPEG-4, and then also has HDMI quick media switching. So you got that right there. And even audio formats, Apple really expands upon that, all the different ones. And then the Google TV Plus is a little bit more limited. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I think it'll probably sell.
I don't think
Go
these are the competition. I
No.
don't think Google's competing with Apple. I think Google is competing with Amazon.
And
I
Roku
think the
probably
Fire
too.
TV, yeah, I think well, yeah, that's right. The Roku does come in a box format now that doesn't stick into the back of the TV. While we're on Kelly playing all the hits, here's a B-side from a few years back. I still want Apple to make the streaming stick because Apple TV is the best set-top box experience, even though you can't put it on top of a TV anymore. It is still the best set-top box experience, and I want to take that with me everywhere instead of having to take the Chromecast that I have or the Fire Stick that I have or the Roku that I have. I want it to be an Apple TV. I want to take that little majigger with me everywhere instead of the slab, because now that they're 4K, that thing's a slab. Just saying. Anyway, I think this is a thing to compete with Amazon because Amazon has the same sort of integrated assistant kind of thing. I think the Amazon box is like $100 or 100. It's like 99 or 109 for the box one, which I think also does the same home hub stuff and has the assistant in it. Like I always feel like Google and Amazon, when it comes to the home assistant and the devices that they make, those two are in far more competition than either of them is with Apple on most stuff. So obviously there's exceptions, but I think I feel like this is gunning a lot more for people's Fire TV boxing than it is for people's Apple TV boxing.
Yeah. Ben made a comment in the chat here on youtube.com/ITWIOS. The lack of an Apple TV stick is the only reason why I have Google TV boxes, because they're small. I agree with you on that. And hey, WebXP's in the chat here as well. I wish for an Apple TV stick as well.
It warms my heart when I'm not the only one tilting at a particular window.
And for folks listening, the Google device has just slipped to shipping September 27th. I just went on, I had a bunch of store credit and I just pulled the trigger on it. So
yeah. Yep. And not surprised. It'll be
stay tuned for next week in Spending Marty's Money.
Yeah. Couple more stories here. Apple finalizes its first retail union contract with a Maryland store. Apple had released a provisional agreement with the first unionized retail store in Townsend, Maryland, marking a significant development in the company's labor relations. Apple has agreed to a tentative collective bargaining agreement with the retail employees of that store, first of its kind in the company's operations in the United States. And, it's the International Association of Machinists, as well as the Aerospace Workers Coalition of Organized Retail Employees, announced the deal. And it'll detailing improvements in pay, work-life balance, job security, and the agreement will have a pending vote. It should be about 85 employees, and that looks like that probably got approved at this point. So yeah, it's just like Starbucks was doing it. A lot of these places were trying to unionize, and at least Apple's is being open to it. That we're with the retail stores, right, Kel?
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a pretty solid limb here and say the world is not going to end if that happens. No. Things will continue just as they did before. It will be fine. Honestly, I'm always happy to see when an organization, when employees at some place decide to unionize and they do not get Starbucksed somebody suddenly decides to close that store for business reasons.
Yeah, quote
I'm glad
unquote.
that's not happening, and I appreciate that Apple's given it a shot. And I mean, there's a whole lot. Unions are a whole thing, and I know that that's a separate podcast. But it's nice to have one so that you don't have to have one before you need it.
Mhm.
It's nice to have it there. So I'm glad that we're gonna get to see what happens, and you know, maybe people will be slightly less overworked at Christmas time, and it'd be nice if everybody could just generally be happier in the jobs that they have. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
What do you
getting
want-
starbucked a new verb now?
Apparently.
I think it might be. You heard it here
Okay.
first.
Huh? Trademark
so.
Kelly.
Two more stories here. Apple did update its App Store guidelines for PC emulator apps. They refreshed their guidelines for developers, modifying the emulator rules to include express permission for PC emulators to download games. It was updated to state that the PC emulator apps will offer download games, as well as the guideline previously said that console emulator apps could include the option to download games, but not explicitly covering PC emulators. This rule change comes from Apple's App Store approval of PC emulator UTM SE, which we talked about on a previous show,
Yeah.
which is it emulates old versions of Windows, Mac OS, and Linux to use classic software and games, which is kind of fun. I started downloading it. I played around with it a little bit, but it's going to take some hours to play with, as far as I'm concerned. But this is great that Apple has opened up to this. What do you think, Marty?
You inspired me on the previous show, and I started downloading this stuff and thought I would want to play some cool old games, and then got totally confused and went on to something else. So now I'll probably have to try it again.
Yep. Have you tried it yet, Kelly?
I haven't yet, but I'm probably going to. There's some old games that I really enjoyed, so there's an excellent chance it's going to happen. Part of the reason I am partial to these, even if I don't use them very much or don't play a ton of games on them or anything, is because making them more common, making them more obviously available to anybody who feels like it, also helps preserve the history of a lot of these things, because so many things have been lost over time because you can't play them on a device that anybody can go buy now anymore. So there's so much out there that that is getting preserved because people want to be able to continue to play it, and these emulators make it so that you can find out there's an interest, and a lot of stuff doesn't end up just lost to the mists of time, because digital, like a video game and things like that, they're a little less tangible in a lot of ways. And if you've got it on a floppy and that you can't put that floppy into any device that you can easily get your hands on, then do you really have a copy of it anywhere? So I really like that this is something that getting more people interested in old games and helping all of those things might help motivate some folks to and inspire people to help preserve this stuff going forward, and to start now with things that are out now, and being able to make sure that 30 years from now somebody can still see Baldur's Gate 3 and things like that. Like I hope that this sort of helps make that happen in the future as well.
Yeah, I'm constantly in search for a copy of Zaxxon, and something that I can play. But as you were talking, Kelly, I was thinking, I'm not a developer. I don't know that whole thing, but it's not just the preservation of it, but I can imagine, if I'm a young kid and I want to get into programming or development, I look at all these very, very complicated games that I'm playing, and I'm like, that's a huge lift for me. But if I can start with the simple programming stuff and then move to some of these 30-year-old game kind of pixelated type of
Yeah, 8-bit.
methods, and then it's kind of the stepping stone in my development and my understanding
Yeah.
of how to develop. So it adds
Yeah.
that component for not only of history, but it also kind of says this is the first step, this is the second step. You don't go from first step to 10th step. You
Yeah.
can, but this is how we got there.
Yeah. Yeah. And telling somebody that's interested, like, you can build a game like Pong you can build a game, you can build a level of Super Mario Brothers, like in that style. Like that is a far more achievable thing than build a level of Halo, build a level of, Dead Space, whatever. Like that, that's not where you start, like you were saying. So I hope that this also helps that, somebody falls in love with Super Mario, whatever, or some other, Spaceward Ho, which is one of the ones that I always want to play. Somebody falls in love with something from Ambrosia from back in the day and goes like, yeah, maybe that's a thing that I could do. This would be a fun thing to get to learn, and give somebody an in like that. That feels a lot more possible.
Yep. All right, one last stories in the news for this week. Balenciaga and Rimowa launched apps for the Apple Vision Pro. This is for you, Marty. The luxury French fashion house Balenciaga and I pronounce them right here.
This is why
Rimowa.
we barely covered it on my show, because I can't pronounce those names.
So what? I gave it a shot here. Now you get to talk about it. They launched apps.
Yeah. Go ahead.
They launched apps. They launched apps for the Apple Vision Pro, expanding the headset's immersive fashion experience. They introduced this very first phase of this Apple Vision Pro app, designed to provide users an immersive view of the fashion shows and collections. And the app does offer exclusive drone views and stereoscopic footage of their catalog. I don't think anybody say anything else. I brought it up only more because you think you're going to start seeing more and more of these, a lot of these companies going to start doing things like this?
Yeah, since my fashion sense are T-shirts and board shorts, I probably won't be going to these stores to purchase anything. I think what the significance is this is the European market, and Vision Pro was released in the European market, and now they've kind of got their own. We have some high profile stores on Vision Pro already, and now the European market has those stores, are starting to put their own stores in there, which is cool.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Kelly?
Balenciaga and Rimowa are awesome and high end. So of course they made something for an awesome and high end computer. Rimowa, people might know they make they're like metal hard-sided suitcases that have a specific sort of ridged pattern. Like if they're wheeling along, it's like vertical. Balenciaga makes a great many beautiful things. So there you go. I am also I'm team t-shirt, and it generally starts with a t-shirt. If it's cold weather, I'm probably wearing jeans, and if it's warmer weather, I'm probably wearing shorts. Because I like to mix it up. But I think it's interesting. I think it would be interesting to see what those apps are capable of doing. I'm not sure what you would do with an Apple Vision Pro app from a company that is primarily known for making hard-sided luggage.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I know them for. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know what they make beyond that. So
unless it's doing the AR thing of plopping it in your living room so you can see it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I got.
I got a tip for this week, and there's an experience that happened a couple weeks ago for me. This was an adventure, as I'm saying in the notes here, that my new iPad Pro 13-inch, and I pulled it out of my bag the other day and come to realize it didn't power up. Like, okay, I must have hadn't used it in a while, and the battery went down to 0. So, okay, great. I went and plugged it in, let it sit for, it usually turns on right away once you plug it in after about 5 or 10 minutes. No power at all. Okay, great. So I usually remember how to do things here. Push the power button down on this iPad, and then power back up. It would not come at all. And I'm just not thinking. I hadn't done this in a while. I said, I wonder what I didn't do. What's going on here? This is like, this is an expensive iPad, and I'm freaking out about this. So I went. I said, all right, you know what? It's Sunday. I decided to go and just bring it over to the Apple Store and see if one of the geniuses can help me out here. And I said, by no means am I ever a genius, because there's things that like this one that's going to probably shouldn't be admitting this because I should have done this, but there is a way to that everybody should know. I've talked about this a million times, how to do a hard reset. Hold the volume down, up, volume down, then hold the power button in to do a hard reset. So I didn't even, I thought I was doing it. I wasn't thinking of it. The buttons are positioned differently if you forget. So he went ahead and did that. So then it turned out, once we finally got the power back up, because we had plugged it in for a little bit, that it was still not working properly. So, I was like, oh, I'm glad I am here now. That obviously it was a reason why that something was happening with this piece. But the genius said, well, sometimes it happens. You got to reinstall the OS. I'm like, oh, great. I don't have to go through all that again. And because that's what everybody thinks. You got to just erase it and then reinstall it and do all that. So, but no, there's not a way you do that, because I have a support article that I've linked here in the show notes that that's the steps I talked about. If your iPod won't turn on, or if it's frozen. If it was black or frozen, like I said, you just do the hard reset. And then, a lot of the other reason that what I did experience was the fact that if the iPad turns on, but it gets stuck during startup, you're seeing the Apple logo, the red or blue screens during setup. Then what you need to do is actually got to involve connecting it to your Mac. You on the iPad, you hold the home button and the top button at the same time, and keep holding it until you put it into recovery mode screen. And then you've got it plugged into your Mac. Now, basically what will happen is it comes up and says there is a problem with your iPad that requires you to update it or restore it. The key words there, update. Now, when you do this, what it does is it downloads the latest OS. So in this case, iPad OS 18, iPad OS 17.6 at the time.
Technically, you are correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And what it does is it downloads it. But all it does is it does a low-level install. It just installs the operating system, the OS, and then it installs it onto the iPad, and voila, comes back. It takes a little time, of course, because using the Finder and connecting an iPad or even an iPhone for that matter to get it to restore, it can be a little slower than just doing it like you normally do by just erasing and starting over, which I could have done, but I don't want to do that. So it downloaded and installed the OS alone, and it came back. My iCloud account was still signed in. All my apps were in place. A little bit of customization had to be done, but great tip here to know that you can do that without having to do a full out erase and restore. Now, I think that it doesn't hurt to even do that when your device is kind of wonky. I've seen that before, even with my blunder of not forgetting about having to do a reset, that it isn't a bad idea to try this and install it on a device so it just reinstalls the OS and keeps things in place. Because boy, that saves you a ton of time, I tell you. So, and you guys, have you ever tried? I assume you guys have known about this, and it's something that I highly recommend now.
The plug in with a cable and
putting it in
stand on
recovery
one
mode.
foot and do the hokey pokey and chant I've had to do that just often enough when I've got this phone or I've got this iPad and I plugged it in for like an hour and it never came back and I don't know what's going on with it. A lot of times the first thing I do is check the port to make sure the iPhone's belly button is not thoroughly coated in lint. And then
Yes.
if that doesn't seem to be the problem, then it's the plug-in recovery mode dance for that one. I have found that the hard restart, volume up, volume down, hold the other button until the Apple logo comes up, is a thing that fixes an awful lot of things before it gets too fully weird. So once you get to full-blown wonky, this is the only thing that you can do. I always have to look it up every time, but I know that it's a thing I have to pull out once in a while. So
Me too.
but it's very, very useful. So the one I would say is remember that hard restart is a thing, because that can resolve things that the regular power it off and count to 5 and turn it back on again does not.
Yeah. Anything to add, Marty?
I have CRS, so I can't remember
Stuff.
and stuff. And I have trouble with my iPads because I close them up and I think I've shut them off, but
Yeah.
really all I've done is put them in sleep mode. And then I open them up and either they come back on with low or no power, or they don't come on. And then I wind up pressing a combination of buttons until I see the Apple
Right.
till I see the Apple thing come on.
Hard
And then I'm
reset.
like, okay, I panic a little bit and then just keep pushing until and hold it for 10 seconds. And then eventually something boots up.
Okay.
So I haven't had those kinds of problems where it just freezes completely. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I've done that and had to put direct cable into it to
Yeah.
jump
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very much so. And Cletus in the chat says nuke and pave. That's the most painful thing to do with any Apple device, especially Macs. That's a lot of work. I know our friend Allison Sheridan loves doing that all the time with her Macs.
Yeah.
It's just a painful, long process to get it back to where you want it to be.
So
I
David,
mean,
when you were at the Apple store, did you take an opportunity to purchase something new?
I did not. I was a good boy. I did not.
Okay.
No, I did not. I was resistant. In fact, there was a rainstorm. I was there. I had to sit there and wait for a while. And in fact, I sat through one of the, how they do the geniuses go up at the front of the room and talk about a
Do story,
15-minute
yeah.
session. Yeah, they talked about the Photos app. So it's, some things I didn't remember. So there's another good tip when you go to the Apple store. Go to check a look at those sessions they have today at Apple. They have some amazing little sessions. And this one was just he sets up in the front. Yeah, they got that big, enormous, big screens in most stores. And he's got his iPhone shared, and he's going through it and showing you how to do it. And yeah, it's they've got some great events there, as well as hands-on when you could sit at a table and talk about stuff. So yeah, I took care of that. I'm still not buying the Vision Pro yet, so maybe one of these days.
Yeah.
I'm tempted. I'm tempted still,
Yeah.
but the prices still kill me. So
You're just
Yeah,
getting
but you
the
just
version
saved-
2, right?
Yeah, you just saved a lot of money not having to buy a new iPad. Think of it that way.
well, I wouldn't have had to because that's why I have Apple Care with accidental damage. So anyway, that was such a great show. Thank you both for being here. We really had a blast here for the show, and let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you're notified, and you will be notified when we are live streaming, which is Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, at 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Cletus. Thank you, Webb, and all the others who are in the chat tonight. You can be there and hang out with us while we're recording the show live here. You can watch the past live streams and you can listen to the past shows right there in that channel. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discussed are flipped into the magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show and your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 and Mastodon.cloud. Thank you, Kelly Gamont, again for being here. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Where can people find you?
Thank you so much for having me. You can occasionally find me distracting Chuck Joyner on Mac Voices Live on Tuesday nights.
You're overdue.
I know. I keep going, oh, tonight I can, and then no. So like I say a lot of weeks, I'm gonna try next week. I always do, and something else happens. And then you can occasionally find me when Mike and I can figure out when we have the same time open on our schedule on the after show with Mike and Kelly at aftershowpodcast.com. Brought to you by Weather Alibi, weatheralibi.com for all your weather alibi needs. You can watch my talk at MacStock, where I taught a bunch of nerds how to yarn for a while, which was really fun. You can also occasionally find me on this show because David keeps inviting me back. And you can sometimes find me on various podcasts over at The Incomparable. And probably the one that will be the most relevant to most people is the 2 episodes we did about the first 2 Deadpool movies in anticipation of the third. You can also find me on Mastodon at mastodon.social and occasionally posting something on Instagram when I go to shows.
Great. Thank you for being here. And Marty Jensius, thank you always for being here, being this regular contributor. Where can people find you?
You can find me here on Thursday nights, also on Mac Voices on Tuesday. And then the podtalk.net has links to my 3 podcasts. I do one called Vision Profiles with Eric Bolden about the Vision Pro. That's a weekly podcast that we do, comes out on Monday night, Tuesday morning. Then also Circular Firing Squad is a chat up show about life issues and other fun stuff in academia. And then Tech Savvy Professor, which comes out every couple of weeks, and we talk about tech use in academia.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you for listening and watching, and for the folks being in the chat and the YouTube channel, and every time you come join us every week here. We enjoy doing it. And until next time, we'll talk again soon. Thank you very much.
Dave, you didn't cover my favorite article title.
Which
How to
one?
make your iPhone screen less intense when in bed.
I know. I think about that. That could have been a show.
And that's like a Chinese fortune cookie,
In
where
bed.
you add in bed onto everything at the end.
I should have jumped. You see me every week. I do that. I just throw a bunch of stuff in there.
Oh yeah, I know, but I had an in bed joke there, for that one.
How do you make it less intense in bed? Is this the accessibility thing?
Turn on the blue screen, get the
Where you
brightness
go
down.
reduce white point?
Here, you can buy this here, Marty. I just got these drives here. See that?
Oh wow.
Those are 12 terabytes. But both of those cost me $200.
But for each,
Oh,
200
total.
bucks
Both.
total. Where did you get
Wow.
those?
eBay.
Oh,
Ah.
okay.
And they're certified. It's got a full warranty on them and everything.
Nice.
Well, this OWC caddy is pretty amazing, and it's fast. This is a Thunderbolt.
Oh, I love the toaster. Yeah.
This thing. This is a Thunderbolt
Yep.
device, so I was copying data like crazy.
Yep. There's one at my
I was
house.
gonna
too.
put it in my Synology. I have the DS220. It's like I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I've got one back there. I'm thinking of going up to 4. I don't know why, but I'm thinking of going up to 4.
Yeah, it is reduced white point. I love reduced white point.
I'll cover that next week.
Yeah.
Look forward to
That's a
next
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
week. All right, guys,
That's
say goodbye.